Pandemic days for more on that.
That's right. You know, the SEC football has been the long-standing tradition. It's been kind of dominating over the past couple years, but it hasn't always been that way. Thanks to this guy, Dr. Jason Schofield. He wrote a book called Why SEC Football is Better Than Big Ten Football. And for all you Big Ten fans out there that are throwing things at your TV, I'm going to ask the question for you. Why is that?
Well, the simplest answer is that when these two conferences have met head-to-head, the SEC has won 60% of those games. And over the last 50 years, the SEC has 14 national titles, including the last 3. The Big Ten has 5.
Okay, you're talking to me about numbers. This is an academic approach to something that's not academic. It's football, Jason.
Yeah, that's true. There's a whole element of college football that happens off the field. I've been to Madison, Wisconsin. I've been to Ann Arbor, Michigan. They don't compare to Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Okay, have you been to the Horseshoe?
I have not been to the Horseshoe, and I don't plan on going.
Fair judgment. Okay, I hear that the thought of this book came from a Big Ten fan. What does he think about the title?
Oh, he disagrees with it, but he doesn't know better.
All right. Dave, what do you think? I know that everyone is just going back and forth in their living room between these two subjects. For more on that, we will talk to you after the break.
Well, I think it's absolutely something that people talk about all the time. Marty Lyons back with us. Marty, there is that conversation about the SEC and the Big Ten. It seems as though in the last several years that the SEC has just gotten so much faster than the Big Ten.
Well, I think I agree with you, Dave, but I also think that it's where you're growing up, what you're born into. If you're born in the state of Alabama, you're either going to be an Alabama fan or an Auburn fan. You're going to be an SEC fan. You're going to watch the tradition grow year in and year out. If you're a Big Ten person, Ohio State, Michigan State, those type of people have that same type of rich tradition and loyalty. So I don't know if you could actually say is one conference better than the other just by looking right at the numbers and saying, you know what, wins and losses, first downs, second down, Heisman trophies, national championship. I think there's more into it. I think it's that rich tradition.
I think the one thing where the SEC has taken a step forward, though, is with this television contract. I mean, in terms of the exposure that the SEC gets, even though kids have grown up in those, say, traditional areas where other conferences have dominated, they see what's going on here, and it's helped SEC coaches, I believe, in terms of recruiting.
Well, I think it also helps the players. When you need a player like a Mark Ingram here at the University of Alabama, for him to get the Heisman Trophy, he needs to get that national recognition. He needs to get that media behind him so that he can get the kind of exposure so that if you have a voter up in the Northeast or if you have a voter on the West Coast, they know who Mark Ingram is.
Absolutely.
And this show is going to provide that type of awareness.
Absolutely. All right, speaking of the Northeast, let's head up to our studios in New York. Sam Ryan, just back from the Bronx, it seems like moments ago. Sam, is this question kind of like comparing the Yankees to everybody else in MLB now?
You know, I think I had a sleeping bag there at the Bronx stage. Thank you. And thank you to Marty, too. Yeah, actually, I know BJ can't pick the Big 12 here, but, and this is the SEC tailgate show, but I want to ask you guys, can the numbers, Marty was giving the politically correct answer, really based on where you grew up, can the numbers dictate which conference is stronger, SEC or Big Ten?
Well, if you look at the head-to-head matchup, it's pretty even. I mean, the SEC has a slight edge, maybe 4 or 5 games better than the Big Ten, but I think it's pretty comparable. And the Big Ten, they are trying to recruit in the South. They're getting a number of players from down there, maybe not wholesale like the SEC. And the SEC coach, I think the big difference between the two conferences, and this may be the big difference between the SEC and every other conference, is the play of the interior line. We're talking about defensive linemen, good Lord. It seems like they're born and bred in the South.
Well, I think you're exactly right. You're looking at the Southeastern Conference in the last 5 years producing 45 SEC defensive linemen that have gone on and played in the National Football League. And I agree with Marty some that everybody favors their area, but if you look at why a Mark Ingram would choose to come from Detroit to Alabama, it's a little bit about what Dave said, the chance to play for a special team like the University of Alabama, but it's also to play in the Southeastern Conference where all the exposure is right now. We're getting a lot of exposure around the nation with the Southeastern Conference because of the TV contract. But the speed of the game and the defensive line is the difference, I think, in the SEC and the Big Ten.
We will see what happens. So speaking of the Big Ten, Iowa will be rooting for LSU today. That's because, Hawkeyes are 4th in the BCS rankings, right behind number 2, Alabama now, and number 3, Alabama there. If LSU wins today, that'll all change. Iowa hosting Northwestern today, and we have highlights of this one. already leading 10-zip early. But major problems in the second. Starting quarterback Ricky Stanzi hitting his own end zone. Ball pops free, recovered for a Wildcat score. Just at the beginning of the troubles, though, because he was hurt in the play, had to leave the game. So in comes the freshman back, James Vandenberg, and runs into trouble right away, guys.
Freshman mistake.
He is picked up right now Northwestern with all the momentum leading that one, 17-10. And still more ahead of the SEC Tailgate Show. We'll head back to Tuscaloosa when we come back. Stick around. As Jordan Jefferson is getting ready for the big battle against the Crimson Tide, still undefeated Tide.
This is the